everyone, this is Robbie's blog of Animation Bliss, and I'm making a video called Why the Angry Beavers Matter, where I explain about why I think that the Angry Beavers is a great show and why I think that it deserves to be revived, alongside other Nicktoons like Hey Arnold, Invader Zim, and Rocko's Modern Life. But before we get started with this video, I want to ask you guys a question. What do you think about when you hear about the Angry Beavers? Do you think that, one, it's that Nicktoon that came out in the late 1990s that was about these two beaver brothers named Norbert and Daggett who are forced to live on their own, and we follow the crazy adventures that these two beaver brothers go through? Two, that it's that Nicktoon that had a final episode that was so controversial that it caused the show to get canceled? Or three, that it's the Nicktoon that most people don't talk about? Well, let's talk about what the show is all about first. So the show is about two beaver brothers named Norbert and Daggett who are forced to move out of their parents' house due to the birth of their younger sisters. It's a rule that if a second litter of kids is born to a beaver family, then the first litter of kids will have to move out. Norbert, who is voiced by Nick Bakay, is the older and more laid-back brother, while his younger brother Daggett, who is voiced by Richard Horvitz, is the more hot-tempered and panicky of the brothers. So the rest of the series is spent on Norbert and Daggett living on their own and going on lots of crazy and bizarre adventures as a result. Now, you're probably wondering about why I'm willing to make a video about the Angry Beavers themselves, and that's because I legitimately enjoyed this show growing up. One of the main things that I really enjoyed about the show was the premise itself. The fact that it's about two beaver brothers trying to live on their own is something that's actually pretty relatable to many people who just moved out of their parents' house and are trying to learn to live on their own. I also love the fact that this show is all about the relationship between Norbert and Daggett. I've always been a huge fan of TV shows that focus on families and the complicated or healthy relationships between the family members. I have two sisters, and even though me and my sisters get along way better than Norbert and Daggett do, I do appreciate the fact that this series shows the complicated relationship between Norbert and Daggett and how they still live with each other, even if they do have different personalities and interests that make them clash with each other. Another thing that I really liked about the show was with how unique it was compared to the other Nicktoons that came out during the 1990s. Even though most of the Nicktoons in the 1990s were slice-of-life shows, just like the Angry Beavers were, the Angry Beavers took this a step further by introducing unique concepts and phrases that will only be recognizable to the show itself. There are times where Daggett constantly says the word spoot whenever he's irritated. And also there are foods that the Beaver Brothers constantly snack on, like lickety splits, which are wooden logs filled with sweet sap, and having drinks called Yahoo, which is similar to the real-life chocolate drink Yoo-Hoo that I used to drink a lot as a kid. All of these interesting concepts made the show very unique, and I applaud the show for trying to be its own thing, even if some of the general audience didn't really get the bizarre nature of the show at the time. So at this point, you're probably wondering about why this show should be revived at some point. Well, the main reason for this is because the other Nicktoons in the 1990s and early 2000s are getting their own revivals. You see, way back in 2017, Nickelodeon had announced that they were doing some revival movies for some of their older Nicktoons. And among those Nicktoons who already got their own revival movies, we got the Hey Arnold Jungle movie, Rocko's Modern Life Static Cling, and Invader Zim Enter the Florpus. I have seen all of these revival movies, and I have to say that most of them were done pretty well. They continued the tone and humor that was prevalent in the original series, and most importantly, they served as closures for the original series. The main reason why I want to see the Angry Beavers get revived is because I want the show to have some kind of closure. When the show got canceled way back in 2001, there was no proper finale for the show. Sure, the final episode, Bye Bye Beavers, might have provided some kind of closure for the series, if it ever got made, but I felt like that particular episode didn't really close out Norbert and Daggett's character arcs in the show itself. So when creator Mitch Schauer announced his plans to make a revival season called the Angry Beavers Respooted, of course I was beyond excited for this, because that would mean that the Angry Beavers would finally get that closure that it really needed. According to Mitch Schauer, Respooted would have been about Norbert and Treeflower getting married and having two little girls. Daggett will also show up in the show, visiting Norbert and Treeflower. Now, I have to tell you that I absolutely adore this idea for the Respooted series. The fact that Norbert and Treeflower are finally getting married and having kids sounds like the perfect closure for the Angry Beavers series. It reminds me so much of the Hey Arnold Jungle movie, and massive spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen the Jungle movie yet. What I loved about the Jungle movie was that it resolved a lot of plot lines that were left hanging when the original Hey Arnold series got cancelled. Plotlines such as, will Arnold ever find his parents? What is Arnold's actual last name? And most importantly, will Arnold and Helga ever get together? Thankfully, all of these questions do get answered in the Jungle movie. The plot of the Jungle movie was Arnold trying to find his parents. Arnold's last name is actually Shortman. You know, the name that his grandpa constantly called him in the original series, but we all thought that it was just a nickname. That was really clever of Craig Bartlett. And Arnold and Helga do end up together. And I'm just really happy that all of these questions are finally answered. So if the Hey Arnold series just ended with the Jungle movie, then I would be satisfied. So yeah, not only do I want to see what Norbert's life would be like being married to Treeflower and taking care of his kids, but I also want to see whether or not his relationship with Daggett would change because now he's married and he has to pay attention to his new family instead of Daggett. It would be great to see how much both Norbert and Daggett's characters would change in this Respooted series if this series gets greenlit. Alright, so now that I explained about why I wanted to see this series get greenlit, I want to ask you guys, do you want to see the Angry Beavers Respooted? And do you want to see the Angry Beavers finally get that proper conclusion that they didn't get years ago? Well, there are ways that you can actually help make that happen. There are numerous petitions out there that are trying to get Nickelodeon to allow the Angry Beavers to continue this new Respooted series. One of the ways that you can help is to sign these petitions, or better yet, make videos like this that explain about why you love the Angry Beavers and why it's important for Respooted to get made. I'll just post the links to these petitions and groups in the comments and description box down below to save some time. As of this video, this year marks the 25th anniversary for the Angry Beavers, and what better way to celebrate this crazy series than to give it a proper finale. Even if this show didn't get as much attention as other Nicktoons like Hey Arnold and Rugrats did, it was still a show that broke ground for Nickelodeon as a whole. Remember Invader Zim? Well, Richard Horvitz, who voiced Daggett in this show, actually went on to voice Zim himself in Invader Zim, and Invader Zim would go on to become a cult classic among Nicktoons fans. And we have to thank the Angry Beavers for jumpstarting the manic energy that Richard Horvitz gave to Daggett that he would soon give to Zim himself. Also, Nick Bakay, who voiced Norbert, also voiced Salem the Cat in Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and fans were introduced to his unique voice for both characters. So I hope I'm able to get my points across regarding this show. This show was quite unique for its time, and it would be great if the show had a proper conclusion so we can finally see how Norbert and Daggett's stories would close out. So here's to hoping that Nickelodeon listens to the fans and get the Respooted revival off the ground. And this, you guys, is why the Angry Beavers matter. I'll see you later, my fellow Spootheads. Hey animation fans, like this video? If you want to see more animated content from this channel, then please hit that big old animated subscribe button so that you can get more awesome content from this channel.